All right. Well, that ended quickly in an unfortunate way. Novak Djokovic retires against um, Sasha Zverev in pretty shocking form, I would say. First set over, Djokovic dumps the volley into the net, camera pans away, and all of a sudden they're shaking hands. So let's make sense of this. I'm going to talk about my thoughts about what we saw in the first set from both guys, the injury, and the future for Novak. I see some very similar parallels to Federer's 2020 Australian Open, where he lost, he was injured, and the future was uncertain after that. I don't know if that's going to be the same with Djokovic, but I think we need to appreciate him while we still have him. And the fans booing him at the end was pretty disgraceful. And yeah, they didn't do that. So, anyways, let's break this down. Here's my thoughts. This is the slice presented by Betway. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back to the channel. Wow. Yeah, that was the match. One set, that's all we got. People were upset, people were booing, not cool. We were all hoping for more. And obviously Djokovic was, which is why he took the court. And he didn't feel like he could keep going. He said this in the press, he said if he had won that first set, maybe he would have. Whatever. He retired from the match. But yeah, interesting turn of events. Pretty shocking. I'm still shocked, even though it's been like an hour since it ended. Yeah, it was a match I was really looking forward to seeing how it progressed because we did our preview. You guys watched it. If you didn't, welcome to the slice. Subscribe. Thanks for getting us past 20,000. We are officially past it and on our way to 25 this year. So subscribing helps us get around our coverage. If you want to see live tweeting during the matches, at the slice Steven is where I do that on X. But yeah, we looked at the match and we thought who's gonna be able to hug the baseline more, who's gonna serve better, who's going to handle the big moments, and we did get all of that in the first set. So we're gonna look at the stats from the first set and break it down. But I'm also gonna talk about retirement from matches and then Djokovic's kind of future after this because it's he was injured here, wasn't able to finish last Roland Garros. Hasn't won a major since I guess the US Open 2023. So it's been a while now. In his books, it's been a while. In a normal person's books, it hasn't been a while. He's still super fresh and his level's great. And anyways, we'll get to that. But let's talk about this match. Here's the stats. First set. Yeah, we had a first full set, and I tweeted out that Zverev played, I think, the better set, but it went to a tiebreaker. So my thought was he needs to win this tiebreaker, or else he'll feel like I played a great set, and Djokovic didn't play his best, and I still lost. Zverev hits 8 aces, which if you did that over 5 sets, that's is that 40? Not a math guy. That's 40 aces. So unlikely that he would, but he would have been in the high 30s probably if it went the distance, which is big. Got 76% of his first serves in the first set, winning 83% of those and 78% of his second serves. So just a great serving performance from Zverev, like he needed to coming out of the gate. I believe we talked about the last time they had played. His win percentage was, or his first serve in percentage was 62, and his first serve win rate was way lower, is in the low 70s. So Djokovic only made half his first serves, just over 172%, 62%, or 60% on the second serve. So, anyways, it went to a tiebreaker. In the set, though, Zverev 24 winners to 15 unforced errors, and opposite ratio for Djokovic 11 winners to 16 unforced errors. So yeah, the stats show that Zverev played a better first set with serving. The short points, interestingly, though, Djokovic had the upper hand in those, and then the 9+ shot rallies, Zverev had a huge head-to-head, even in the 5-8. So 14 points over 9 shots for Zverev to 8 for Djokovic. So you could see Djokovic suffering. He looked tired. He had the legs strapped up. I wasn't sure at the beginning if that was precautionary or what it was like, but Obviously, he was in pain. Not practicing between the Alcaraz match and now was a bad sign. And apparently he tried a little bit before the match to move it, but people who I saw on Twitter who saw that said it wasn't, looking very good. But he came out. But in that first set, the longer the rallies went, it got physical. And that's what I said in the preview. I said, if this gets physical, this could be bad for Djokovic if the injury's hanging around. And that was the case. But he looked tired. He looked weary running for some of these balls. And he tried to make moves at certain points in the match or that set and wasn't able to. Zverev had the upper hand kind of right away. He actually had 4 break points that he wasn't able to convert. And then the next game, Djokovic had 3 break points that he wasn't able to convert. Then a little bit later on in the set, Zverev got another break point that he wasn't able to convert. So it was a bit of a weird set, a bit of a nervy set. But Zverev probably was the stronger player. And then, he gets the first set in the tiebreaker. Djokovic dumps the volley into the net and then just makes the decision, maybe a bit of a split-second decision to retire. So he said in the post-match press conference, someone asked him, if you had won that first set, would you have retired? He said, I don't know. I probably would have kept trying to play for the next few games to see how it felt. But he said, and you never know. So like we saw in Alcaraz, he was injured, feeling poorly, and then he got better as that match went on. Adrenaline plays a huge part in that. The painkillers play a huge part in that. But, how much worse are you going to make the injury by playing? And obviously he made that calculation in his head and decided to retire. So no one ever really knows how bad the injury is until if there's a scan that comes out, which no one ever actually sees. But he kind of alluded to the fact that he didn't get a scan after the Alcaraz match because someone asked him and he didn't say he did. Whereas he did a couple of years ago when he had a tear in his muscle. So it's unfortunate. He felt like he didn't have it in him to, I think, come back from a set down, and that's why he retired in that moment. But that's something he's done before. It's a lever that he pulls. Some other players won't retire, but I think he knows his body the best, obviously, out of anyone, and he knows if he doesn't have a chance to win, why would he keep playing? So that's his perspective on it, and that's fair enough. That's up to him. And as I mentioned earlier, the fans booing is just insane when the guy's won 10 Australian Opens. He's given so much to the Australian crowd. So I thought that was a bit disturbing to see. And it really took me down memory lane, actually. And I don't want any of the jokes which don't make this about Federer. I'm not. But I was just thinking about this. This is the Australian Open semifinal in 2025. In the Australian Open semifinal in 2020, Federer lost to Djokovic. And Federer he was injured the whole match, wasn't able to play at his best. He said he came into that match with like a 3% belief he could win, but he wanted to play and he didn't retire. But that was just his thing. He just never retired. But he left that match the question to him was, are we ever going to see you again here at the Australian Open? And he's like, yeah, I plan to. I don't have any plans to retire, but you never know the future. The same question was posed to Djokovic. Is there a chance that this is the last time we see you at Australia? He said, you never know. He said, you don't know the future. We'll see how this year goes. So it's almost like, to me, with all the records Djokovic holds and how much he's done, they're essentially the same age now. I think maybe Federer was 38 or 39 at the 2021. But, if these types of groin and muscle injuries don't, if Djokovic doesn't play enough to get the muscles ready to have this type of stress on them in a major, he's going to keep getting injured, you would think. And then this can just compound to where he's like, it's not worth it for me to keep playing. Why would I? I've had the career that I could only have dreamed of, and it's time for me to hang it up. So I think there is a good chance that this was the last Australian Open that Djokovic is going to play. And for those people in the crowd who are booing him on the last time they'll ever see him on court, that's a shame. And you're going to have to think about that when you're like, what am I doing as a fan of this sport? But Djokovic gave it all out there on the court, and he couldn't keep going. And Zverev is through to his first final. I guess to wrap that up with the Federer analogy, the analogy there is Federer played Djokovic, lost, was injured, thought he would be recover quickly from it. Ended up getting surgery before Dubai. That turned into a year off of tennis. Tried to come back the next year, got surgery again. Never was really the same. So really, Federer was injured at the 2020 Australian Open. He was also injured at the 2019 US Open. The last healthy that last healthy tournament he ever played was Wimbledon 2019, where he made it to the final, and obviously lost to Djokovic there. But sometimes these retirement things can come quickly, and Djokovic was injured at the French Open. He was injured at even Wimbledon last year. He had the knee bandaged up. Obviously, he was at the US Open. He lost early to Popyrin. Now he loses again at the Australian Open here, being injured. So I don't know. The parallels there are pretty crazy, and between goats, maybe they all have a similar pattern. I don't know, but Zverev is into the final. He will play either Sinner or Shelton. I'm probably thinking he's going to be playing Sinner, but this Zverev's time. I said it in the preview. Is this Zverev's time to beat Djokovic? He ended up beating him. I'm not going to say I told you so. He was injured, Djokovic, but the prediction did hit. I'll just say that. So if you're looking at this from the Betway feed, where I'll be posting once we have the matchups for the men's, I'll do it with the men's and the women's. I'll be posting my predictions, my picks on there. It's going to be really interesting if we have Zverev versus Sinner, which I think we will. Is this Zverev's time to get over the hump? I think this is a great opportunity. Sinner's it's the it's the number one player in the world, the number two player in the world. Sinner likes to play more from the baseline. So does Zverev. I think Zverev has ways that he can hurt Sinner, and ways that he can win that match for sure. So I would love to see Zverev get his first major. I think he deserves it. But if he's playing Sinner, it's not going to be easy at all. So we'll have to wait and see for that. But that's a reaction to Djokovic retiring from the match against Zverev, unfortunately, and a little bit of a look at how Zverev played. If he can serve like he did here against Sinner or Shelton, he's going to have a good chance, I think. And yeah, he's got what he needs to win the Australian Open. So we'll see if he's able to do it. Anyways, that's my reaction. That's the slice presented by Betway. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you next time here on the show.